Hello and welcome. This is one of a series of library tutorials that we offer here at Blue Mountain. This particular tutorial is going to cover Academic Search Complete, which is an Ebsco database. I'll probably point out a few other tips and tricks with Ebsco along the way. The first thing we'll want to do, of course, is get to the library homepage. You do that by going to bluecc.edu, college homepage, and clicking on Library. That will get you to this page here. We'll then scroll down, and where we're going to spend our time today is in the library databases. However, I want to point out that all of our databases, of course, are available on campus. That's Pendleton, Hermiston, Milford, Water-Baker, wherever you're at. If you want to access these resources off campus, you'll need to use your library card. You get a library card number by, if you're on Pendleton, simply going tomorrow, getting a student card, coming back and up to the library to be given a library card number. If you're off campus, you would click on this How Do I page. The second tab over, obtain your new library account. And depending on whether you're brand new or you're renewing a library card, you would do that following either of those links. Pretty easy. So we're going to now hop into our library databases. We have a variety of databases, including streaming media. You might see that tutorial later, newspapers, variety of subjects, but most of our work we're going to do here in our top library databases. So within our top library databases, these are the ones, not that they're better necessarily than any other database, they just happen to be the ones most frequently used. Especially Academic Search Complete is what we're going to look at today. Even though it says Search Premier. This is used at pretty much every college in the country. So if you leave here and you go to OSU, you go to Stanford, you go to Duke, you're going to be using this database. So we'll go ahead and click here. Academic Search Complete is primarily a very keyword-driven database. It's really at this point saying you exploring your ideas and putting words to the type of research and the research question that you have. So there's a couple different ways to use it that I'm going to point out. One is that the keyword searching method. The other method I'm going to point out is that you can actually do a publication search. If you know, for example, that you want to look at Scientific American, you can look and see if it's in the database and search just that publication. But we'll start by looking at doing a keyword search. So let's go ahead and choose databases. And I'm clicking that because I want to point out the different databases we have available that you can search all at once. I'd like to highlight Academic Search Complete. But depending on your topic, you might say you also want to make sure to search this Psych and Behavioral Sciences collection. You can do that in addition, or you can do that on its own. If that's all you want to search, you can certainly do that. Though quite often it might be helpful to start with Academic Search Complete. You can also, ERIC is an education database. If you were doing anything with education, educational psychology, great database to use. Same thing with some of our medical databases. We have Health Source, which is a nursing academic. We have CINAHL, which is a nursing database. You might want to browse through. I don't think they're always clear on what the topic is. You can always certainly ask. So, but I'm going to start with Academic Search Complete for our search sample today. So I'm going to click OK. And now I'm searching both of those. We're back to our main screen, but what this allows you to do is some particular things. I just want to show you some filtering tools. One is we want to filter by full text always. You can filter right away by publication date. So if you know you're doing something technology, you're doing something specifically with health, whatever, that you need a current publication, you might want to go ahead and just limit to the last couple of years. And it's just as simple as doing that, putting in the date and putting in your results. And that's for Academic Search Complete. You can also limit if you want to have some images or charts. Say you're doing a presentation, you want to make sure there's a chart there that you can include in your presentation, or you just like charts or graphs, you can put that in as well. The other thing that you can do is usually limit by document type and language. So I don't always do that, but you certainly can. So let's go ahead and put in some search terms. I think one that's always interesting is stress. One thing it starts doing right away is looking at different aspects about stress, right? Just typing in stress is a huge topic. So probably something that you might want to look at right away is stress perhaps with a certain population, let's say with college students. You might want to look at stress, regarding health, different aspects of stress, stress management. Stress is one of those interesting words that's used in a variety of fields. So if you're a science student, you'll know that stress is often used in biology. Stress is also used in engineering. You're looking at the stress of a building. So you just might want to keep that in mind. But right now, let's go ahead and do stress. And I'm going to do stress and, partly because I like seeing what comes up when I type in and. I might find something that is perfect for me, because I might really actually be interested in both stress and anxiety. But I might be really interested again in maybe some other aspects. Or if I don't like any of these, I can just keep typing. So let me go ahead and actually type in stress in college students. Why not? If we wanted to add anything at this point, stress in college students, and then add something more, like say we wanted to look at stress in college students, but we really had that next, well, so what question, or so what might be stress in college students impacts their grades. That's where we might want to put in, grades or, success in school, something like that. But I sometimes like to start broad and then I can narrow down. So let's see what we get here. All right, so we got 477 review results, which I can see right here. Some of these are going to be, these are the title of the articles that we see here in blue. These are our links to getting to that record. But something I like to look at, we limited to 2014, 2016. So that was one way we focused in right away. You can focus on, different stories. So this is journals and academic journals. If you want magazines, just because you're starting to learn about this topic, you can focus on that. But some of these are kind of interesting. A mobile app for reducing perceived stress in college students. Interesting. A lot from some global studies. I do want to point out some of these other filters, though, just to point out there's different things within these subject terms. So SARS terms are sometimes helpful. See, they specify stress and psychology just to make sure you didn't want to look at stress and, engineering. I like looking at these subject headings as well. It looks like they're covering the same thing. But what you can do is click on any of these and say you really wanted to look at mental depression. You could click that, and that would take you to those 24 articles that match stress, college students, and mental depression. You can always click more and try to get more specific information, like specifically undergraduates, if that's who you care about when it comes to research, rather than graduate students or PhD students. If you want to look at psychological tests or just anxiety, again, you can do any of those just by clicking the topic of interest and update. But I'm going to skip that for now. The other thing is, we did search 2 databases. If at this point you wanted to just look at the psychology and behavioral health sciences collection, you could click there, or you could just focus on one or the other. So something to keep in mind. Let's say we found an article, and this one's interesting to us. This actually looks pretty good. What stress, emotional intelligence. We didn't type that into our search, but that might be really interesting. And life satisfaction, because that kind of answers some of those so what things, right? Stress, maybe grades, this is something I suggested earlier, but maybe you're really actually looking at how happy somebody is with the quality of their life. I'm going to click on the title. And with this title, I'm going to see a couple things. One, it's telling me the author. It came from this journal called College Student Journal that was published in 2015. It's a 12-page article. These are all the things you can see you'll need for your citation. It also gives me an abstract or a summary. Especially when you're at this point where you're looking at more academic journals, I would always suggest take the time to read the abstract or summary. That's going to allow you to kind of choose right away, yes or no, do you want to keep looking at this article? As you're browsing through maybe, 20, 30, 50 articles, having this kind of tool to quickly help you make a decision is extremely useful. To get to the article itself, that's over here on the left. It's available in HTML or PDF. So with a click of the button away. But some things I also like to point out is, say we found this and we started out thinking about stress in college students, but really what you find that you're actually interested in is emotional intelligence. Take advantage of that. These are actual links that take you to that particular topic. I'll just click here as an example. So there's some pros and cons in what this does for you. When you click on emotional intelligence, we suddenly have a lot more results. We have closer to 2,000. because what it's done is thrown out the rest of our filters. It's allowing us to focus on emotional intelligence. So it's up to us as a researcher to bring it back to the scoping level we would like it to be at. So, for example, we might want to not go all the way back to 1955. We might want to stick to, say, the last 10 years. So you just move this, or 7 years, slider forward to do that. Okay, it's a pretty current topic, so we still have quite a few. We might decide that we really want to look at, again, maybe emotional intelligence and leadership. Perhaps that's what we're interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and click Show More to see, well, there's leadership, there's personality, again, there's empathy, multiple intelligences, all those things that we saw before. Again, we can limit our response to. I'm not going to bother doing that because this is just an example. And similar, again, we could decide to limit to one of these databases. So, but the other thing we can do just with those filters, that's just the content. We can go back and add the things that we care about. So really we want to focus on emotional intelligence, and let's just say we want to focus on college students. And this, as you can see, the database tries to help you out. By college students, they say, well, college students are university students, similar, but they may have been written about differently. Or you might be specifically, again, looking at undergraduates. Just to let you know, if you use an or feature, that's going to expand your results. If you just use college students, that will be a little bit more narrow. Maybe that's clear, but I always like to point that out. So let's see, if I click search, well, great, I'm down to 81 results that look at this, emotional intelligence in college students. And here we have achievement, motivation, and academic performance in college students. Words that we may not have originally had put into our search. I think we think of student success, we think of those types of phrases, but I don't think we always automatically think of academic performance and achievement motivation. That's where the database can be really helpful in helping you think about, well, what do I really want to, how is this subject being looked at? These are articles tend to be by professors, scholars. They're the ones really talking in this really academic language that in this paper we're striving to achieve. I want to click on this article because I want to show you a couple other things. Again, here's the full text. Again, authors applied keywords. Again, what you find is like, nope, I'm really actually interested in academic achievement and some other things. Same goes back through the same cycle. You click on that, add other terms if you're interested. Here's your abstract. But other things you can do, say this is an article that you would like. You can print this out. You can email it to yourself. You can save it to a flash drive. They also have a great citation tool. It is in alphabetical order. If you're using APA, well, here you go. If you're using Chicago, a couple classes use Chicago. You can do that, and then here's MLA. So you might always want to double check, make sure it's perfect, but they're usually pretty good. One thing I do want to point out is there are some features such as add to folder. You can certainly add to a folder, but that is just going to last the duration of your search at this moment. If you wanted to create your own permanent Ebsco folder, you can actually do that. It's kind of cool, and you can just save your articles to that. And that's why you would sign in, and it's kind of hidden here, create an account. And you can, if you want, to save your articles to your permanent Ebsco account. And that stays with you. So if you happen to create this Ebsco account and 2 years later you're at University of Oregon or OSU and you've been doing some research, you can log in and access these articles. I created an Ebsco account years ago and still have research I did years ago that I once in a while go back and look at. So it can be very useful. Again, even from the article itself, those tools that I just mentioned, they don't go away. They still stay with you here. So if you can find them here as well. So Ebsco, it's a little bit more complicated. I think the biggest challenge is like playing with your keywords, playing with those ideas, and looking at that. I didn't cover publication searching in this tutorial. I'm going to do a quick one to show you how to do that. Because again, you might really just want Scientific American. You just might want something from National Geographic. I can show you how to do that.